Hello, everybody, and welcome to another I Have an Oil for That interview series. Now, I have an extremely special guest today. I have the wonderful Sharon Morrow. So, Sharon Morrow, please, thank you so much for coming. Welcome. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. That was a lovely intro. I'm really excited to chat to you all today.
I'm really excited to talk to you. So just for a little bit of a background, I heard Sharon speak at a business summit that we went to a few weeks ago in London. And she's one of the most fascinating people that you can listen to, and is so knowledgeable that it's probably just as well that this is like succinct. Otherwise, I'm sure I'd be asking you questions for ages. So what I do want to say is, if you are tuning into this live and you do have any questions, then please do make sure that you pop them in the comments. And also, if you come on, then make sure that you say hi as well. So Sharon, for anyone that hasn't had the pleasure of meeting you just yet, could you just give them a little bit of a background as to you and what it is that you do?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I'm a personal trainer. That is my main job that I've had since I was 20. So I kind of entered the fitness industry at that age and I have followed the trends through. And as I've got older and my clientele have got older, predominantly female, we've got to this point of, perimenopause, midlife, third age, as it's known. And I just felt with my clients, I needed to give them more information because they were all at this age and they were wanting more information about third age and menopause. So I've been studying it for about 2.5 years now. And I just feel that with that knowledge that I've got with when it comes to fitness, well-being, because I'm quite a holistic PT, I'm very much where we're not just looking at fitness, we're looking at diet, we're looking at lifestyle. We're looking at everything from our well-being, our environments, social, mental health, emotional health. So it actually just made sense for me to do that part and to look at third age and just to study it a bit more because, as we've just said briefly, there is huge amounts of misinformation or conflicting information, stuff that we don't really know what, if you don't know what you're looking for, it's very difficult to find stuff on it.
I like the fact that you also said that this is very holistic. Because the challenge that you've often got is that everyone within their niche and their area of expertise is absolutely phenomenal. Doctors are phenomenal, nutritionists are phenomenal, but the communication between the two is pretty much non-existent. And so you can be going to a particular professional to try to get an answer to something that you're going through. And with all the will in the world, they can be doing the best thing of what they know, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best thing for your body.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And I'm at that age, so I'm 45. And I'm also finding that this is a topic of conversation. And what's been really interesting is that the topic of conversation, especially since I've also joined doTERRA, is that what I'm finding is that the more people that I'm speaking to, the more misinformation there is, confusion. And also one of the areas that I think is really important is the amount of times that women think it's something completely out of their control. And so that's one of the things that I really wanted to talk about. But before we go into that, could you maybe just share a few of the signs? Because I think that this gets missed, especially from doctors, a lot, as to some of the signs that could mean that you've got into perimenopause.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And just touching upon when you say about the holistic approach or going to see a doctor for advice, I've had many clients that have been to the doctor with their symptoms and it has either been dismissed because, as fantastic as doctors are at helping us, they're not really, they're not in that specialist field of menopause or perimenopause. You have to literally see an endocrine doctor if you want any real information and help about it. And there's not very many in the United Kingdom to help you in that. So you really have to do a lot of research and you have to continually try and find these people and resources yourself. So I think that's where we get let down with it. And symptom wise, I feel that we could be having symptoms and we completely dismiss it as other things ourselves. Because I've even had clients that are like, I'm not there, I'm not at perimenopause. And I'm thinking, well, they are, but they just don't realize they are. And then before you know it, you've got all the symptoms, all of them together, and then bang, you're straight into it. So I
What
think
do you
it's
think the
knowing.
reluctance? What do you think the reluctance is for some of us women to even want to go there and to admit that we're there?
I don't think it's reluctance in thinking, it's an age thing. I think
Yeah,
it's more along the lines of maybe they are missing the symptoms and
yeah,
thinking that the symptoms should be something else, like maybe just their periods changing. But it isn't. It's everything from the brain fog, the menopause shoulder. We joke about the menopause shoulder because at some point, and my ladies in my sessions, they will get the menopause shoulder,
so
which
come on,
is like
what's the menopause shoulder?
it's like a stiffness, it's like a frozen shoulder, often affecting the rotator cuff. So, kind of putting your coat on is a problem, holding a door open. It's this kind of limiting range within the shoulder or
Yeah,
upper back because, the last 2 years we've probably been working from a desk that's not suitable or at home. It's been a different environment to work in. And just because lowering levels of hormones, particularly progesterone, means that our tissue, it affects the musculoskeletal system. So, yeah, it's things like that that we wouldn't associate with menopause. We just think it's because I'm getting a bit older, but
yeah.
not necessarily linking it to perimenopause.
Wow. So some of the signs to be looking out for then, I never knew about about the menopause shoulder, so that's fantastic. You mentioned about a changing period. So what could that mean?
Yeah, that's the first sign that you might notice. So basically, if your periods have changed think about what your menstrual cycle was like in your 30s. So if there has been a change to that, either you're lighter, longer, or a bit more irregular, maybe you used to be 20 every 28 days, but now you're every 32,
Yeah,
or your period is a lot heavier, or it's shorter. Any kind of change in your period from in your 30s is a significant sign that you're hitting perimenopause.
excellent. So that's a really good one for people to look out for.
Yeah.
So I would like to really touch on, like, do we have as women, do we have any influence on our menopausal and perimenopausal experience at all?
In what way do you mean, as in
So can we
influence?
influence it? Is there anything that we can do that would help alleviate any of the symptoms?
Yeah.
Is there anything in our diet that we could do, movement that we can do? And if so, what would that be?
Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of the symptoms that we get, and there's something called metabolic syndrome that females often get at menopause or perimenopause. And what it is, it's like a group of conditions that affect us that then mean that we are affected on metabolism. And these are things mainly lifestyle factors:
Yeah,
smoking, drinking, inactivity, maybe sometimes overactivity as well. Stress is the biggest one for our endocrine disruption. So our hormones are often affected by our period or menstrual cycle, but stress is the next biggest factor that will affect that. So it's being aware of that. And I think generally a change in our circumstances, because thinking of our lifestyle, we get as females. I'm not judging here. I'm assuming that most females would go through a point where they have children. Not everybody does. They have children. Their children get older, and then we almost go, you know what? Actually, I think I'm going to look after me a little bit more. And it's
yeah.
only when you get, I think, to that age where you think, oh crikey, I have maybe neglected myself a little bit. And these things have happened, them lifestyle factors. It makes you just review it a little bit more and go, do you know what? I need some change here. I need some self care. I've got to put myself on the priority list.
Excellent. And I think that that is so true. That we do tend, if especially if you're a parent, you do tend to be bottom of the pile.
Yeah.
Um, excellent. So hi Anya, she's got hi there, I made it. Um,
Hi.
so hi Anya, great to see you on. Um, yeah, I do think that we tend to often put ourselves last, but even females that may not have children, we tend to be in a caring role for somebody or
Yeah.
some group of people,
Yeah.
and then we'll often do that. And I also think that there has been in the past more than now this almost like guilty part that you shouldn't be taking care of yourself, or that you're
Yeah.
being selfish, or
That's the thing.
um, and I think I don't know how that stigma can get released. I think it has to
Yeah.
start with ourselves and owning that and going,
Yeah.
no, I'm good with understanding I have to take care of me.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is overcoming that barrier that you think it's selfish to take care of yourself. And often when my clients say that, or I'm in a discussion talking about that, the question I ask back is, okay, so if you don't look after you, who will?
Yeah.
And when that realization hits of, actually, I don't want anyone else looking after me, because I really don't. I don't want my parents looking after me. I don't want my child looking after me.
No.
So when I think of it like that, the best thing I can do for my family is take care of me, because if I got you to write a list of 10 things that was your biggest priority in your life, and you went down that list and you put things, I don't know, I often get, it'll be children, it'll be what work, it'll be the house, it'll be pets. Some people don't even put themselves on the list, let alone be in like tents.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some people aren't on the list, and I'm like, hang on a minute, you're missing the trick. You need to be number one. You've got to
Yeah.
be at the top, because you can't take care of any of these other things you've listed if you're not well.
No, and it sounds so simple when you put it like that, but I think sometimes we need somebody like you that becomes the mirror that helps us to
Yeah,
see that we're really missing that, and it is incredibly important.
yeah.
So, talking about taking care of ourselves then, and especially when thinking about those that may be moving into perimenopause or in perimenopause, what are the first things that we can do to really to help take care of ourselves?
I think it's to make your environment less stressful. That's the quickest thing you can do in terms of analyzing your lifestyle, is
Yeah,
notice what is stressing you out, because the biggest disruptor to our hormones is stress. Because if we think about being in the sympathetic nervous system, and what that means is, often when we're in fight or flight mode, this means our central nervous system is in sympathetic. We need to do activities that pull ourselves into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and recover.
yeah,
So if I think of my day, I want some element of my day where I'm in that parasympathetic nervous system, so my hormone levels and my stress response is lowered. And I guess that's the biggest thing we can do. And just reviewing life, because exercise, as much as I promote exercise, it's fantastic, we definitely need it. You're going to be in your fight or flight system when you're exercising. So we must offset it with other activities like meditation, reading a book, walking in nature, forest bathing. I love a bit of barefoot walking in the grass. You have to just
yeah,
watch out for the dog things, the dog mess.
yeah,
But anything where, just review your life so that you take more conscious effort in rest and recovery. Particularly, bedtime routine is the most simplest one. What are you
yeah,
watching on telly before bed? Are you drinking alcohol in the evening to kind of de-stress? I think just change the habit loop so that you're not doing the things that are going to offset, or the things that are going to contribute to the risk factors of menopause. Just look at changing that. Just look at changing the routine, because you might still have the same habit loop of, I finished work, that's the trigger of, I need a stress release. And whatever you replace the wine or the food or whatever it is that you do for stress release needs to give you the same level of satisfaction. So think about how good it feels when you get into a bed with clean sheets, or them little tiny things, just taking an Epsom salt bath, reading a book, listening to some music, meditation. And yes, it's going to pull you away from your family, but that's that time for you, just that 10 minutes, 15 minutes, even 20 minutes a day where you can have your time.
yeah. I love that, and I love the fact that you can do the simplest one, the bedtime routine. I think that's like a game changer.
Yeah,
And I know that from personal experience, once you can start to really concrete one change, it then becomes a little bit easier to do the next one. I always think the fast one is the
yeah,
hardest. The fast one
yeah,
is like, because you, and I also think that one of the issues that we have, especially if we've had an unhealthy lifestyle, I know that we are, as a whole family, we've been on this mass overhaul. And it feels so mammoth, and it feels so big and so overwhelming, that if you don't break it down to like, don't do everything at once, just do the one thing to begin with. Um,
totally. And I
just a
think,
good start.
yeah, and I think just having an awareness of it, because often, and this is the biggest thing I'm known to my other half about,
Yeah.
he just flicks through the telly and puts something on. It has no interest in what it is. It's just something to fill the silence. And I'm like, are you actually watching that? Like, do
Yeah.
think, really think about what it is you're watching, whether you're enjoying it. Because
Yeah.
if you're not, just literally turn it off. The minute he goes out the room, I switch the telly off.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I don't want that on. I don't even want it on in the background. So
No,
it's
I'm not
just
a
knowing.
person myself either, but I understand what you mean. It's being unconscious of things
Yes.
and switching to being conscious of what you are giving yourself. So I want to touch on nutrition, if that's okay. So
Yes.
is there anything nutritionally that we can also look out for that would also help going through the perimenopause or menopause?
Yes, definitely. The best diet at third age, at perimenopause, is the Mediterranean diet. So
Okay,
be
cool.
thinking like oily fish, plenty of leafy greens, olives. So you've got your good fats in there from your oily fish and your olives, plenty of nuts and seeds, quite a lot of plant-based stuff. We do need some fiber. We need lots of fibrous vegetables in there, but less red meat. I'm not completely against red meat, but studies do show that red meat irritates our estrogen a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say maybe reduce red meat, but actually look at the quality of the meat you're eating. That's a biggie, that is.
Yeah.
Because if you're eating meat that is, it's got hormones and steroids in it, it is ultimately going to affect us. It's that famous saying of you are what you eat. I often think, well, actually, it's you are what you eat.
Mm.
Because, if it's factory farmed and it's mass produced, that's a difference between having an animal that's grass fed, and I know that does depend on budget and everything, but I'm thinking if you're eating it less frequently and it's more expensive, it's better than eating it every day and it being lower quality meat.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
so the Mediterranean diet, plenty of seeds. There's lots of research to suggest that beetroot is a biggie for energy, particularly fatigue. I know that a lot of females get fatigue at perimenopause, so plenty of beetroot because it helps with B12, B12 and I forgot the other one. I think it's the vitamin D or vitamin C. So
Yeah.
beetroot is a biggie.
Wow. So just where we're
Yeah.
going into summer, when people normally have that with their salads or whatever.
Yeah.
And what about movement and exercise and that type of thing? I mean, I know that you've spoken about the fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
So we might not want to necessarily be doing a lot of things that would be putting our body under stress. But could you maybe explain a couple of different things that would be putting your body under that amount of stress versus the things that you could do to help exercise and keep your body moving that may be less stressful?
Yes. So I would say in a week, think about 3 activities. Think about getting in strength training. We must do strength training because there's just a huge link to osteoporosis. The risk of osteoporosis to us is far greater than it is for men. The statistics are way too big to ignore. So we need to do strength training. So that can mean anything from anything like weight bearing, that's going to be a pushing and pulling movement, tipping, swinging, hinging, anything that's either lifting weights or is bearing resistance to your muscles. So, you don't have to be jumping around and going crazy, but it is going to be strength training. That's the best form. In terms of heart health, because again, heart health, cardiovascular disease is another link to perimenopause or postmenopause, sorry. So we need to look at HIIT training because that is the quickest way to get your heart healthy
Yeah.
with and you can do it. 15 minutes is fine, and I'd say come away from steady state cardio. So things like long distance running, I guess that's good for some people mentally, but what it does, it affects your testosterone. It depletes testosterone, and we really need that hormone for metabolism. So I say maybe switch that out for some HIIT training. So like high intensity interval training where you're working out quite intensely for 30 seconds and then you're taking a 30-second rest. So you're going to get that high intensity impact on the heart, but you don't have to do it for very long.
Yeah.
You can do that in 20 minutes. That's going to be really sufficient. And then the third type is definitely to get your restorative in. So you need your strength training, you need your HIIT, and then restorative, which is your Pilates, your yoga, forest bathing, even napping. I like to call that an exercise at perimenopause, napping.
Do you know what? I think a lot of people are going to like that. They'll be like, I'll be down with that one. I'm signing up for that exercise, napping. That's a great one.
And
That's fantastic.
interestingly, and I've just done a quick reel about this on my Instagram because as females, I think we should be looking at living in a 28-day, 32-day cycle, not a 24-hour. 24-hour cycle is very much like a man, whereas we're different. And if we're still having a period, that very first phase, so that follicular stage up to ovulation, studies suggest that cardiovascular exercise is much better then. So that would be when you do your HIIT training. And
Yeah.
then after ovulation, we're looking in the luteal phase, it's better for strength training. and then during menstruation, restorative. So
Wow.
there's kind of your 3 types in the month.
Sounds like you need an app, Sharon, that we can follow, that we can put in, and it will have all those exercises. That would be a really good idea. So thinking about how we can have empowerment in ourselves, because that's the biggest conversation that I think that seems to be recurring, is how much women feel out of control, like it's something that's happening to them and that they can't influence it in any way, and they're just resigned to it. And I also want to come on to HRT, because every single person that I've spoken to thinks HRT is the only solution. Now, I'm not an expert and you are, so this is one of the reasons why you're here. But before we get on to whether there's differences for HRT, what can we do apart from our exercise or taking that Mediterranean diet? What else can we do so that we can feel a little bit more empowered, even whether it's in the moment or whether it's something that we have that's implemented every single day?
Yeah, and that's a really good question, because there are things out of our control, but like our hormones, but there's a hell of a lot of things in our control.
Yeah.
So I always like to say, let's look at controlling the controllables. And these are things like our nutrition, our
Yeah.
exercise and activity, our mindset and our lifestyle. You know, the behaviors and the choices that we make, we can control all of them. They are within our control. So if we look at that and we focus on that, you know, reducing stress, and again, I'm going to touch upon endocrine disruptors, xenoestrogens, you know, and I guess this is another topic, but the amount of chemicals that women are exposed to, which completely disrupts their hormonal landscape, particularly estrogen, we can just switch that out. And that's the biggest thing I've done, was I literally binned everything that was toxic. And I love makeup, and I just binned it all. And the research I did was showing that lipstick has got twice the amount of chemical toxic load in it. And I was like, I'm putting this on my lips every day.
Well, do you know what? We've been on a little bit of a journey. We haven't quite got to the makeup stage, but ours was in cleaning products. The amount that I found, and probably like most people, my viewpoint to begin with was, well, nothing can be that bad because they wouldn't be able to sell it if it was that bad for us. Oh my gosh, I was so wrong. So wrong. But then you almost have this panic moment where you almost want to shout to the rooftops to say to people, like, don't do that, don't do that. So what are a few of the things that people can switch out that would make a difference?
Firstly, makeup, especially if they're putting that on the skin, and moisturizer. You know, I find it's so much cheaper, because using doTERRA, and I get a choice every day. I use the fractionated coconut oil, and I decide what oil I put in that, you know, whether it's yarrow palm or frankincense, or I'll have lavender, whatever I'm feeling. So you kind of get a different moisturizer each day, or depending on where you're moisturizing, because we know that some of the citrus ones you can't put on because they're photosensitive, and you're going to be, you know, if you're in the sun. So it's that you can just switch out, because the coconut oil is really versatile. You can use it for literally everything, the fractionated coconut oil. But yeah, makeup was a big one for me, because, you know, one certain brand that I was using, like I say, the toxic load in the lipstick was twice the recommended amount. So I just did a bit of research and I switched to a different brand. And it's I think it's knowing what brands are better. And going from there, cleaners, you know, I just use one cleaner, and that's the On Guard, the doTERRA one. So I feel like not only have I cleaned out my cup, I've just got one thing in there. So I'm kind of lowering my stress at the same time, because things are now easy.
Yeah.
You know, deodorants are the next one, toothpaste. All these are the things we can control. You know, toothpaste without fluoride in it, deodorant without aluminium in it, that we're putting on our sensitive areas. Switch them out straight away. And I think that was one of the biggest things I noticed on well, certainly I'm a very sweaty person. And that was the first thing I noticed that changed, because I wasn't putting that chemical so close to my lymph nodes and in my armpits.
Yeah. Wow. I think that's really fascinating. And that's something that people can do immediately, which is really nice. It puts them in control.
Yeah.
What about HRT then? So let's talk about this. I know that you posted the other day that something really got to you because a male doctor had gone on and basically made out that HRT was the only solution. Yeah, look at your face. You're like,
I know. He was a personal trainer. And to be honest, I followed this guy. I unfollowed him a little while ago, but I find his post, he's a male PT, there's nothing wrong with that, but I find him quite demoralizing at times, because he comes across as the expert, but actually some of the things he can say are really quite triggering for females. So he does just rattle my cage a little bit. But he was basically saying that if you've got a hormone disorder, then medication is the only answer. You know, like you would have if you had type 1 diabetes, it's a hormone disorder, so you need medication. And he was kind of saying the same for HRT. And I'm like, well, not necessarily, because if you can handle HRT and you'll go, and I'm not anti-HRT because I know there is a purpose for it at times, but if you can go through menopause without it, great. Then that's fantastic. Try that and look at other aspects, because I would rather look at my lifestyle and try and manage things in my lifestyle so that I didn't have to go on HRT. But you know, if you do need to go on HRT, there are different options, or it's knowing what's available to you.
Yeah, so let's go through some of the symptoms that people go through in perimenopause and menopause, and then what they can possibly use to combat it. So one of the most common that I've had, especially for people that they notice like fairly early on, is night sweats.
Yeah.
And not even night sweat. Well, it was one person put it to me, it's not night sweats, it's night sweats, day sweats, morning sweats, any sweats, just sweat. And I was like,
bless.
not sound pleasant. So is there something that we can do that is maybe a more natural approach that might be able to help with that?
Yeah, and this is where clary sage comes in, because this oil came out the top. And interestingly, when I studied, this is what got me into doTERRA actually. When I was studying my menopause qualification, when I was looking into this of coaching females, there was this whole module on essential oils, and I'd never considered it before. So when I completed this module, it just so happened that I had this event, and I met Jonathan from doTERRA, and he introduced me to the oils. It was just, the timing was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And especially coming across a company that did oils that was so pure, which just like delighted me. So clary sage was what came out top for night sweats, or for hot flushes and night sweats, because of the vasomotor properties in it. So basically the contraction or the dilation of your capillaries, along with other black cohosh. I think that is, although doTERRA haven't got that in a supplement, that is another herb that you can take that is good for night sweats. And also the clary calm rollerball, because there are so many essential oils in that. You can just literally apply that to your feet at night, particularly if it is nighttime that you get the hot sweats. So I would say apply that to the lower abdomen, to the pulse points, and on the soles of your feet at night, and see whether that helps.
Excellent. That's amazing. So another one is mood swings. So mood swings, I don't even think that this actually applies just to perimenopause and menopause. Let's just say that as women, we have mood swings.
Yeah.
So what can we do about that to help us to feel a little bit more in control?
Because that'll be estrogen. It's kind of spiking, it's going really erratic. So if you look at the hormone landscape of estrogen, you know, we normally have a normal fluctuation where it rises towards the period, or sorry, towards ovulation, and then drops. Whereas actually perimenopause, it's more like that. And when that is doing that erratic lift, also our diet plays a really important role here, because when we eat food that is high in sugar, which often we do if we're lacking in energy, we'll pick that sugary food. It does the same thing with insulin. So the sugar is converted, it makes your blood sugar rise up, and then we release insulin, and then blood sugar drops, and it does the same, up and down, and it makes us exhausted. So when the hormone landscape is going up and down like that, it's going to affect our mood. Often it's going to affect cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and this is when we're raging and we're not, and we're raging and we're not. So I would say the best thing and the quickest thing to do is the human diffuser. Get something in oil in the hand, maybe a citrus or a lavender, something that you can rub into your hand, inhale, so that goes straight into the amygdala, because we know the olfactory bulb at the back here attaches to the limbic system of the brain. The limbic system of the brain is where the amygdala is. So the amygdala is what controls mood and emotion. So if we have an amygdala hijack, I quickly get the oils so that I can just process that, take the breath. And I think actually from that, it gives you time to, especially if you're in a situation where you instantly react,
Yeah.
I would say try not to react, respond.
Yeah.
Respond rather than react. So if you do the oil and you take the breath, it gives you a moment to decide how you're going to respond. So
I like
often those two together.
I used to teach a lot of people about diaphragmatic breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't have quite the scientific background that you do, but often when we get in a heightened sense of emotion, the first thing that we'll do is the oxygen leaves the brain because you're in fight, flight, or freeze. So you don't even think clearly. So
Yes,
it's
that's right.
diaphragmatic breathing when you breathe in, but your stomach goes out. And babies naturally do this. I don't know why it shifts when we get to an adult. I'm not sure what happens, which you probably naturally do it, and your clients probably do it because of your exercising. But yeah, if you breathe in and your stomach goes out, and then you breathe out and your stomach goes in. But that is one of the quickest ways to get the oxygen to the brain. Again,
It
so
is.
if you're then doing that and then taking and inhaling that oil as well, that
Yeah,
means in a state where you're able to think clearly.
totally. Yeah, and you mentioned about babies do it.
Yeah.
Babies do it because this is the correct way of breathing. It changes to more thoracic breathing because we're exposed to stress.
Wow.
And
See, I didn't know it was the
that's what does
stress.
it.
Do
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
what does it.
I don't know if you were aware of this, but I learned something, and it was only yesterday, to find out naturally whether your body is in fight, flight, or freeze, or if you're in, what did you call it,
Rest and recovery.
rest and recovery. And it was from a yoga thing, and it's if you put your hand under your just under your nose and you breathe out quickly 3 times. If it's more dominant in the right side, you're in fight, flight, or freeze. And
Yeah.
if it's from the left side, then you're in the, oh gosh, I still can't think of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, parasympathetic nervous system, that's
Yeah.
correct.
So I was like,
Yeah.
that's such a cool thing. And I was like, oh my God, I am in fight, flight, or freeze, like way more than I thought.
Yeah, yeah, because
um,
you do breathe through, and that's why a lot of yoga classes they start with that. It's called alternate nostril breathing, where they and then they close it and then they breathe out the other one. So you kind of go down and up through one nostril and then the other to change the sympathetic, parasympathetic, and it's almost brain yoga. It's brain yoga initially, and that's what a lot of yoga instructors start their class like.
See, it's so fascinating. And I think when you find out why a lot of these things happen and why they're good for you, it means that you're more likely to do it. There's so
Yeah.
many things that we go, oh, you need to do this, but you don't understand the reason behind it. And if you've got a personality like mine, which questions everything,
Uh-huh.
then unless I've got the reason, it's not happening. I won't do it.
But that's interesting you raise that point. You need to know why. And that's, we're talking about little things that we can control and can do. Think about doing that before bed. And I often when I do the alternate nostril breathing, I'll get an oil like air or peppermint. And all that really opens up the respiratory system. So you've got the opportunity then to unblock and you can really clearly breathe from one nostril to the other. It's a
That's
really
amazing.
powerful technique.
Oh, I'm going to be getting everybody in the group and everything to be doing that. I'll be checking in. I'll be going, well, you're doing your nostril breathing.
Yeah, it's literally
use
where you
air or
close
did you use
one nostril. You literally close one nostril, breathe in, and then use your ring finger to close the other one, breathe out, and then back in, close.
That's so cool.
Yeah, quite slow and controlled, but you're using them two fingers to block and unblock. Don't
Oh,
forget air or peppermint on beforehand.
I love that. I love that. Excellent. So, what about supplements? Do supplements make a difference to us, especially throughout many perimenopause and menopause, or is it just a load of hype?
Oh no, always. I think that people should supplement all through their life.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's something that sadly our nutrition has changed, and we know that because the soil has just been hammered because of farming and pesticides and chemicals they're putting on the soil. So I would say definitely to supplement anyway. But as you're becoming closer to perimenopause or menopause, then the phytoestrogen complex is really good because the phytoestrogens, it's kind of doing two things. It's mimicking the natural levels of estrogen in our body, the natural production of estrogen, and also it's fibrous, and also it's helping just with those receptors, because what happens is when we switch from perimenopause through to menopause, our hormone estrogen or estradiol is produced in the ovaries. When we stop secreting that, we switch to E1, and basically this hormone estrone is produced in our liver, fat cells, adrenal, kind of around the midsection. So that term of middle-age spread.
Yeah.
It's why that's come from. That is because females naturally then would put weight on around the middle from that transition of estrogen produced in the ovaries over to the tummy and kind of around the vital organs. So I would say as well, because of things like xenoestrogens from our chemicals, the phytoestrogens can help offset the amount of xenoestrogens within the body as well. So it does a couple of things. I would really say that they're the best supplements for females at third age.
Excellent. And what about a lot of people, you already mentioned this about osteoporosis. So what can we do to ensure that we are helping our bone density?
Yeah, again, another supplement on that. You definitely need a supplement of, it needs to be vitamin D, vitamin C. Yeah, vitamin D, vitamin C. And when it's got vitamin D in it, it needs to be D2 and D3. So the doTERRA, the Women's Health Pack, the
Yeah.
phytoestrogen comes with a bone complex, a bone nutrient complex.
Wow.
And actually, I've compared that supplement to the one out of the LLV pack, which is the Microplex. They're quite similar. So either of those, but
I think that's
yes, that one, yeah, they're quite similar. But I would say if you have got a history of osteoporosis in your family and you've been diagnosed with osteoporosis, those two together will be a really good one. The LLV with the bone nutrient as well.
So what's the advantage to people taking the Long Life Vitality, which is the LLV?
Yeah, well, it's because it's got the cellular complex with it. It's got the cellular health. So that trio pack, what I like about it is the omega-3s.
There
Yeah,
you go, hang on. They're quite big
yeah,
bottles, so there we go.
yeah. And it's what says on the tin, isn't it? It's lifelong vitality, because I think 80% of the population is deficient in magnesium. So we have got a change in our food. So that lifelong vitality pack, the omega-3s in it has got a good combination of omega-3, 6, and 9. They're really high quality. And often as well, when I was talking about metabolic syndrome of when we get to kind of third age,
Yeah.
a lot of the time, if we look at cholesterol and we look at that being a little bit out of balance, if our Western diet is really high in omega-6, so if it's high in omega-6 and we haven't got the correct level of omega-3, it puts omega-9 out. And that's what often makes our cholesterol out of whack. So that pack there will just help balance all those three, the omega-3, 6, and 9. Yeah. And cholesterol, I think, again, it has a bit of a bad rap. You have to really understand that cholesterol is vital to us, especially because we need to produce it for estrogen and progesterone. So lowering your cholesterol is not necessarily a good thing, because it's understanding the two points of cholesterol. You've got the high density and the low density. So, for example, I went for my women's health check at the doctor's, and I didn't go in my, gym kit. I thought, I'm just going to see here what they say. And I knew they would tell me my cholesterol was high. So I didn't tell them what I did, and they did my health check. And when she did my cholesterol, like the nurse, her jaw nearly hit the floor, and she went, I have never seen cholesterol as high as that. And I said, I knew you were going to say that. I said, but please tell me, is it the good cholesterol or the bad cholesterol? And she went, oh no, it's the good cholesterol. But if I hadn't have picked that up, she would have told me about, my cholesterol's high, and probably spoken to me about statins.
Yeah, and also if someone was in a similar situation, but they didn't have your knowledge, if someone said, "Oh, I've never seen cholesterol that high," you would instantly think it meant bad.
Yeah, no.
That's where us as human beings go. When people say something, we instantly go to the negative.
Yeah.
Then you'd be like, oh gosh, then you'd be on Dr. Google, which is never a good thing.
Never.
And then by the
Never.
evening, you'd have gone and spent all of this money on all of these different things and
Yeah.
told all your family that you've got high cholesterol and gosh.
And you'd be ditching all the things that are good for you. For example, the reason I've got high cholesterol is because I eat butter, I eat avocados, I eat things that are high in fat, I eat nuts, I eat oily fish, and I eat goat's cheese every single day. So that's why it's high. But I'm looking at butter. I'm never going to switch butter for what's that? There's a spread, isn't there, that they recommend for low cholesterol. I don't know what it's called. I can't think what it's called, but it's just basically chemicals in a pot.
Yeah.
And it says on it something like recommended by doctors, and I'm like, what?
No. Oh bless. No, not good. Not good at all. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's so important that we do have open conversations and we try and get information like this out into the public domain more, and also almost have a conversation with other professionals to say, you're amazing at this bit, but the one thing that you're missing is that you're not turning around to somebody and going, hey, there could be a problem with your nutrition. So we'd recommend that you speak to a nutritionist or that you speak to someone else, because they're far too quick to dismiss. And I've experienced over the last 5 years of trying to find out what my own health issues are, so quick to dismiss something and think that they're right from a medical perspective. And I know that it's only in the latter part where I've just turned around to them and gone, I'm going to disagree. I'll agree to take your test if you tell me why you think I need to take it, but I'm going to tell you why I disagree.
Yeah, and that's a really good thing to do, is to tell them why, because often, you know, that they might even assume you've been on Dr. Google. However, it is that knowing your body and knowing yourself, but also because, you know, doctors are coming from a very, their approach is reactive. You know, you're going to go to the doctors with a symptom and they're going to give you a solution based on the symptom. So their approach is reactive, whereas I'm very much proactive. We're looking at more prevention methods or prevention strategies. So my struggle is, I find there is a portion of people that if they're going to choose between listening to me or the doctor, so many people would listen to the doctor because they're a doctor. And that's the battle, because, you know, actually they are a doctor and they're general practitioner, meaning they know a lot about everything, you know, of everything, but do they really specifically know more about the endocrine system and hormones and menopause than somebody that's studied for the last, you know, 10, 15 years on it? That's the thing. It's just that stigma of, or that label, isn't it? The doctor will know better.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is very frustrating. And I think it's a perception change that maybe we as a whole being need to have. And also to recognize that we do need to seek out professionals in specific areas. We do need to find out that very specific information, because also science in all realms changes so quickly, and we're a greater understanding on certain things, sometimes less in other places, but we're often at a greater level of understanding because we've had access of being able to test things differently or better. You know, equipment has changed, all of those types of things. So if you don't have someone specializing, that their whole passion is consistently reading on that particular subject, you're going to be outdated in 2 years anyway.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, because I'm thinking of, as a personal trainer, I have to do so many things per year to keep my insurance, so that they see that I'm updating my knowledge and that, you know, that I'm keeping updated with trends and information. But yet, you know, I mean, I'm not going to say the person's name, but there's a famous doctor who talks most days on morning television, who hasn't practiced since 1984.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, this dude's giving information to the entire nation.
Yeah. Yeah.
1984.
You must be like, like I've got to sort out my own stress levels right now.
Yeah, I'm thinking, but yeah. So it's, you know, it is, things do change. That's the beauty of science, isn't it? Of having both sides, or seeing how things change, because, you know, and even looking from a nutritional point of view, I've never been the kind of personal trainer that's put anybody on a calorie controlled diet, because it does two things. Because it makes people choose things on a menu that's got lower calories in it, and they're looking at the calorie content and not the nutrient content. Because I'd rather somebody eat something that was nutrient dense than something that was worse and lower in calories. But also, that calorie chart was made in the 1920s. We know our food has changed since then.
Massively.
But yeah, so it's probably not even accurate.
That's crazy. That's crazy that it was done so long ago. Okay, so one of the other things that you've spoken a little bit about the nutrition and some of the things that we can do to make sure that we're in control of, or influencing, if you like, our experience of perimenopause and menopause. So what are the things that you think that carte blanche people should just not be without, that they really need, whether it's for overall well-being or specifically for perimenopause and menopause?
It is it's a couple of things really. It's definitely a reflection on something they can do for themselves every single day. It's a commitment to themselves.
Yeah.
Just one thing that they can do for themselves every single day, and having that commitment to themselves. Because I know that we can get into a routine of, we touched upon having children and looking after them and putting them first, but then when they get older, and often then we have a parent to look after, or other things. I think it's understanding that life is always going to give you stress. It's never about completely removing your stress. It's about managing it and your response to it. So that's the quickest thing that we can do, or the best thing that we can do, is actually, we need some self-reflection for us and ourselves, because you are energy at the end of the day, and we need to have that energy for ourselves so that we've got it then for our family. So it is that element of self-care, because like I mentioned, the statistics of the effects to women's health is far too great for us just to rely on good genetics or just to ignore. So yeah, prioritizing self-care, I would say, is the most important thing.
Cool.
And they don't have to be big things. It could mean just getting up in the morning, having a pint of water with a drop of lemon in it, something that's really going to be cleansing to the gut and hydrating.
Excellent. And what about, are there specific supplements that you think, right, carte blanche, you need to have this for your well-being, or specifically for perimenopause or menopause?
I would say the best supplement or the supplement that everybody should take, is vitamin C and vitamin D, regardless of what stage of their life they're at. And then depending on how you're,
Especially here in the UK. Oh,
yes,
deficient in vitamin D. Oh, you live in the United Kingdom, we can see.
you can see we got no sunlight.
No.
Oh, we're not in the sunlight very much. Vitamin C, vitamin D, possibly, yeah, like a multivitamin with that, because it needs to have zinc in it, definitely all throughout your life. But I would consider phytoestrogens if that drop in estrogen is making you irritable, because the signs of estrogen, or I guess we can still, the thing with estrogen, you can still be estrogen dominant even though it's dropping, because your hormones are dropping, but progesterone is dropping so much quicker.
Yeah.
So progesterone is the one that is responsible for fight, or we was talking about fight or flight.
Yeah.
Progesterone is the one that is promoting, it's anti-anxiety, antidepressant, and it's also connected to like smooth muscles. So when progesterone lowers, this is why there is more chance of having anxiety or depression at perimenopause, and also the menopause shoulder, because the musculoskeletal system is changing. So I do think a focus on women's hormones, specifically the phytoestrogens, is a really good one if you are really suffering with symptoms. If you're not suffering too much with symptoms, just the vitamins I've mentioned, vitamin C, vitamin C, vitamin D, just for immunity, good immune health, just for supporting the immune system.
Excellent. So I'm now going to shift onto you a little bit and your doTERRA journey, because I like to find out, right, what are the top oils that you use almost every single day?
The top oil is lemon,
Yeah.
because I drink that every day, and I can't drink water anymore without it. I just love that in the water. It is so hydrating. And then in terms of calmness and in an evening when I'm diffusing it, it ranges from On Guard to lavender, depending really, because I see a lot of people, and if I feel that I need to maybe cleanse the air, it'll be On Guard. But quite a lot of the time in the evening, it's lavender, because it is relaxing. So they're my top three really.
Excellent. I couldn't be without any of those. I've been taking recently, I'm a little bit obsessed with grapefruit in my water. That
It's
is
lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, I was really surprised. So yeah, I like to mix and match it. And
I
what
forget about that one.
Yeah, it's really
It's
I quite
nice.
like lime too, but the grapefruit is like really getting to me at the moment. I'm like, yeah, that's my daily. And what about doTERRA products? So what could you not be without?
Oh, there's way too many to list. There is way too. I could never go without the toothpaste. I
No, I
love the toothpaste. Yeah, that is an absolute. There is way too much that, Yarrow Pom. I use that here. The toothpaste, the shampoo. I literally use everything. So
Wow.
I would really be without it. It would bother me. Again, the detergent, the clothes detergent. I love that because you've not got the chemicals then in, or the xenoestrogen in your clothes, in your bedding that you're washing, but also the cleaner, because I have a fitness studio. So, we've been spraying everything for the
Yeah.
last, after everything, I'm having to clean everything still. So there are way too many things. I literally couldn't live without doTERRA stuff, because for me, I feel it's safe. I
Yeah.
can use it, and it's not going to affect my hormones. It's completely safe, but they're so versatile. There literally is an oil for everything.
I know, and that's why it's called this. And it's becoming a bit of a running joke now, because every time I speak to a friend and they say they've got something, I go, "Oh, got an oil for that." In fact, a friend of mine has made a mug. She's sending it through to me, and it says, "I have an oil for that" on the mug. She's made it for me. Yeah, I've become one of those people. Oh, I've got an oil for that one. Oh, just try this. Or now it's I've got an oil. Oh, there's a supplement for that one. You can take that. Oh,
Yeah, and even the ones that aren't my favorite, because I don't like the taste of Zengest, but I
yeah.
love Zengest because I get seasick just I get sick just swimming in the sea. So I
Wow.
have to take that for nausea. So, as much as although I am getting used to the taste now,
Yeah.
it's either vomit or take the Zengest.
Oh, yeah. I think I would take the Jess as well. I think I would do that. I think some of the products that I know that have made the biggest difference to me, coming from a pretty non-healthy lifestyle and shifting and going into one, I'd have to say that the Lifelong Vitality was
Mm.
a game changer. And I noticed a very subtle difference around about 3 days after I started taking it. And
Wow,
then
that's
after
quick.
about a week to 2 weeks is when I noticed the biggest change. Um,
Yeah.
and I recently had to come off of it because I had a number of tests that I needed to do with the doctors, and because I've waited 5 years, I wanted it to be true to how it was.
Yeah.
I am honestly so surprised at how quickly it reverted, and
Hmm.
you suddenly realize how good something is.
Yeah,
Uh,
when it's not there, when you're not taking
no,
it.
and the shampoo and conditioner is another one, because I kept losing my hair. I was losing my hair in clumps. Like, I would wash it and it would all come out. And I had a conversation with someone today. I went, "Can we just give a bit of appreciation for how awesome my hair is looking?" Uh, so I love the oils. I love them in the respect that they give me a lot of almost like personal power, especially from
Mhm.
a family perspective. I've got 5 girls. Something is always happening. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. So hormones are rife in our house.
Yeah.
So anything that you can give me that helps to balance hormones, I am all for it. But it just means that no matter what happens, we've got some kind of combination that's going to be able to help. And my children now will come to me, even my youngest, who's 6, and she'll say, "Oh, mummy, I need frankincense," or
That's
"Mummy, I need
amazing.
or I need a
Yeah.
lavender." And I to have been that empowered, I think
Mhm.
that's where I feel really good. It's not just about what I've done for myself. It's the fact that they're coming through and having that empowerment themselves. And I think, yeah,
Yeah, I think you're right about the empowerment, because that's where this is where I felt that in my coaching to my ladies, like, we have this whole holistic approach. I can help them with their exercise, I can help them with the nutrition. But the one thing I really wanted them to take responsibility for was their like mental health and mindset. And
yeah,
I really feel that the oils have pushed that part together, because sometimes, and I've had clients that their mental health is so debilitating that they can't even get out of bed in the morning. And I've said, try and get out just to walk around the block 30 seconds. It'll do you the world of good. When they can't do that, they can just literally reach over, they can open a bottle, they can still be in bed, and they can put that on their hand and they can do that. And instantly they've got something there that will just help them. You don't even have to think of how it works. They don't even have to know that. They can just do that practice and feel the difference straight away from that. So, in terms of empowerment, that's what I love about it, and sharing that with people, family. Especially now the weather's changing. I'm doing a lot of outdoor sessions. I
yeah,
know I'm instantly feeling the allergies. I'm feeling the hay fever. I'm feeling the stuffy nose. I know I just need to make a couple of roller balls. I just need to get to put them in the capsules. I can control that with stuff I've already got at home,
yeah.
not having to
And
go
there's no
anywhere. It is.
compromise. you're not having to compromise by helping that something with modern medicine that then means that there's a compromise in another way, because there's a different reaction. And I think that is also so incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
So I could literally talk to you forever, but out of respect for your time, I can't do that. So Sharon, how do people get hold of you if they want to learn a little bit more about the perimenopause and the menopause? Because I know that you've also got a course. So if you could just talk through that and how that can help people and how they can get hold of you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so my website is newdimensionsfitness.co.uk, and on that I've got like different sections. I've kind of sectioned it out of, there's a menopause section, there's a blog section, there's also workouts on there. So that's the best source of information to go to, because you can often download stuff from my website, and it then will give you the links to the online courses, because I do my local in-person training, but I also do online modules as well. Yeah, and the 12-week, it's called Help My Menopause. I've just launched that, and basically we've got a different topic each week, because like you just said, there is a multitude of things to learn, and I can't overload somebody with it in an hour. So I literally pick a topic, and we look at a topic each week, and we go through that topic with little daily tasks to do, so that the information that is learned is more absorbable, and you can always go back to it. So if you was to sign up for the course, you would have the information on there for life. You have lifetime access, and any updates that I do to that course, again, you just get all the updates as well. So yeah, it's all in little sections. And one thing that I will touch upon, which is really taboo, and I did mention it at that business summit a little bit, was the pelvic floor health, because women don't talk about this as pelvic floor dysfunction, but menopause is a big factor in pelvic floor dysfunction, purely because, again, progesterone, it's affecting the smooth tissue, the smooth muscle, particularly in the bladder and in the uterus. So yeah, that is all covered on there. It comes with a rehabilitation program as well.
That's amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I put the link to that in every place where this is, so that you'll be able to find that and connect with Sharon that way. I'm highly going to recommend it. I think you're amazing. I'm not joking when I say I find you so incredibly fascinating.
Thank you.
I could just listen for hours and interrogate you. But I think
anytime, and if anybody has any questions, when you need me to answer, I'll come back to them. Just forward me the questions and I'll come back to them.
That is so lovely. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. But I think that one of the reasons that I love hearing from you so much is because it really helps us to understand why. And I think sometimes there is that resistance because we hear we should do something, but we don't understand why, or we don't understand why it makes a difference. And once you've pieced those two things together, I think it does take that stress away as well, because you're more comfortable in yourself. You know that you're making the decisions from an aligned perspective, not just because it happened to be out there and you're being told that you should.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And you mentioned the word alignment, because actually for me, living is on a Friday night, I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to sit and eat fish and chips with my son. As much as that will irritate my gut, I'm going to do it because it's a Friday night and I love doing that. However, it's that balance of, I'm going to do this tonight on a Friday night, but I will just be better in the next week, because I know that I'm going to do this on a Friday night. And it's like when you go out and have a meal, choose what you want on the menu. Don't choose what you think you should have, because then you're fighting it in a battle with yourself, because then you've got that internal guilt of, I shouldn't have ate it, I shouldn't. I think sometimes we just need to give ourselves permission that I'm going to do this, but I'm also going to do this and this. It is the empowerment of being in control of, if we're good 80% of the time, 20% doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about, getting that balance. Do good things 80% of the time, and let your hair down 20%.
That is the best way to finish one ever. 80% of the time I will be good, but maybe my 20% will happen tonight.
Yes.
I like that. I love that. Sharon, it's been such a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I'll make sure that I do all of those links as well. And I'll pop you into the group as well, if that's all good with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
That's no problem at all. Thanks very much for tuning in. If you do have any other questions, because you're catching this on the replay, then #replay, put your question down and I will pass that on to Sharon as well. So thanks very much, guys. Catch you on the next I Have an Oil for That interview. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.